Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to those of you in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere. Happy Saturday night to most of my subs in the US. And let's get into today's topic, which is when someone's rude to you, particularly from a guy's point of view on dates. Some women act overly confident, to put it mildly. And this was actually what I'm going to talk about today during the stream is prompted by an Instagram message I got the other day, which I'll get into later. If you are here live during the stream and you'd like to ask me a question, please add 3 circles like this example here. This is just an example. 3 smiley faces before your comment if you would like to comment during the stream live. And I'll do my best to get to the question or comment as long as it's sensible and not juvenile. I reserve the right to reject and not read out stupid comments, but comments that disagree with me or would like to, respectfully disagree. I'm happy to talk to anyone, even if they have a very different point of view to me. What I don't like, and I would offer most of you guys, whether it's women, bosses, people in your life, is not to put up with rude behavior. So you don't think the same with me? I've had actually really interesting, memorable conversations with first wave feminists. They tended to be much more independent, rational thinkers. Not all, I know, but much more intelligent than the versions you get today. So it doesn't bother me what point of view you hold, as long as you're able to be civil about it. So let's see. Let me know if I'm coming in loud and clear. I think I should be. Hi to the regulars. Peg, how are you? David P. Big Ol Super. Adam Super C. And a few others that are coming in slowly. So far we have 20 viewers. So, all right, let's get on to the topic, because I find this actually very interesting. It's nice for me to go back to memory lane and offer you some little snapshots and funny moments and not so funny moments that sort of happened to me that a lot of guys seem to relate to. I think it's universal, not that it happens to everyone, but versions of it happen, to a 10, some are 5s, and some are lucky enough not to experience it. Good luck to you guys. But yeah, I remember a few years ago when I was still dating, I was coming across more and more women here in the West where I live that would act really smug and obnoxiously confident towards me on dates, and for no reason at all. Like they knew me and took a jab at me like a joke because somehow we've established some sort of history and knew each other's odd humor or something, yet we just met. Maybe this person thought they came off as confident to me sitting in front of them, as though I'd be impressed. Maybe because they like those types of a-hole men themselves that act like a jerk. And they go weak at the knees for those guys. And they think that I would go weak at the knees for that same kind of behavior coming from her. That's possible. I think that's actually a big part of it. But I think most of it comes from the way they've been taught to socialize around other girls growing up, especially in the schoolyard. What do you guys think? In some of the dates I went on, I was really surprised just how overly confident more and more of the average woman out there is, more and more of how the average woman out there behaves, how she comes across. And it's not, I think someone with the brain knows the difference between confidence and arrogance. But there's a lot of this from the average person, rude behavior in public that they don't even know they're doing. In particular the sassy demeanor some of them turn up on a date with. This cocky, like, I'm the celebrity and you're my annoying fan attitude. But think about this in context, right? If her mother, morning talk shows, society, politicians are all telling her to watch out for men, even the men she knows in her private life, she then just starts to treat all men with a rude kind of default to keep herself safe. And so it makes sense to me. I get it. It's silly. I understand it, but it's really stupid and self-sabotaging. And here's something actually really dysfunctional that no one really talks about in terms of dating advice out there on the internet. Notice this. It's when she turns up on a date, she's suspicious of him. He has to prove his innocence to her before she'll accept him. Now contrast that with how the guy turns up to the date. He turns up to the date optimistic. She has to prove she's actually terrible for him to reject her. Can you see the difference? They turn up with completely opposing attitudes on the date. Think about that for a moment, and then think about the fundamental dating friction between men and women today. Both parties turn up to dates wanting each other completely differently. Or put another way, both parties don't turn up to dates wanting each other at all. Both don't. Only one of us does. One of us has our arms open, the other one has theirs crossed. It's a kind of zero-sum game. It's not relational at all. It's not mutual. A well-adjusted guy sees this very quickly, that it doesn't resemble any kind of fairness or openness. When he sits across a table on a date with Karen, where all he gets is an ear bashing of, I don't need a man for this, I want that for my life, these are my plans for me, and nowhere in her selfish manifesto is there even a mention of him being wanted or needed. Put another way, you can almost imagine what she sends. No, actually, you can almost imagine that she almost sends a feminist version of herself to a date as a kind of representative to defensively vet the guy in front of her. So the little girl inside her feels protected. She sends the Marilyn Monroe version of herself on the date, the girl that acts the worst to test the guy, and if you can put up with her and she feels safe enough, she'll let her guard down enough to reveal the real her to you later. Maybe. And then he might get the nice her if there even is one. But most guys don't stick around long enough for this kind of to happen. And I don't blame them. But unfortunately, a lot of guys still do. And there's also this dumb thing where she's self-sabotaging her potential happiness with a man in front of her on a date, because the guy that will put up with her rude behavior is exactly the type of man that she won't respect. So in beating a man down to the size of an ant so she can feel safe, there is no man left for her to love later. No man to stand over her and make her feel safe, no man to lead. There is only a small ant left. I don't know why these strong, confident, powerful, and independent women push this hard. Is it just overcompensating for their insecurities? Probably. Are they easily manipulated by politics, money, and media? I'm pretty sure that's a huge part of it too. Is the chick on the date just overcompensating to protect the little girl inside her who just wants to be loved? Like that movie Notting Hill. I'm sure that's a large part of it too. But at the end of the day, who gives a shit? No one cares about a dog that keeps biting you every time you try to pet it. No matter how sweet she really is under the surface, if you just have the patience to keep trying. Yeah, I really don't care, and I offer neither should you. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of my rant here, this started from this reflection I'm having on my past and how a lot of women acted towards me on dates was touched on by, it was prompted by an Instagram message I got from a subscriber called Ted G, where he said, why? No, actually, he says somewhere, somehow, there is an unwritten rule that women, or at least modern women, are to behave like a nasty bitch towards men. And I replied to Ted, look, at the same time, it's easy to recognize these type of obnoxious women as well. Let's be frank. A lot of guys just choose not to, think that they're being nice, think that they're giving them a second and third chance, but you're not, because you just want to get them into bed. The pretty is overriding everything else. And unfortunately, most of these guys find these kind of chicks exciting, just like most women find bad boys exciting. And look, I know that there aren't very many kind, sweet, decent women out there in the English-speaking world. I know. They're extremely hard to come by, let alone even if you come by some of them, they're nice, but they're not for you. Compatibility after that is hard too. And you wonder why you even bother looking for that needle in the haystack, because there are better things to do with your time as a guy and even as a girl. No one likes to keep butting their heads against the brick wall. And ladies, it's not because you're rare and special. It's because most of you are the same boring, rude person that expects the world. So the guy who's hardwired to love women is tired of being alone, just ends up lowering his standards to the Western city he's living in, and he just takes whatever he can get in this Western pigsty of dating. I think the sensible guy can kind of see really clearly an obnoxious woman just in public, let alone if she turns up on a date, but he just can't say no to her. That's the big problem. I recognize all the other stuff in society, how unfair it is, but a big problem with us that we just don't want to admit, put our hand up in an embarrassing way and say, yeah, I just couldn't say no to that. I gave her a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. The fact is, if we didn't reward these terrible women with second dates, there wouldn't be so many of them around. The dangerous idiots would die out. These guys who are married to rude morons, they're so common in barbecues and family gatherings. Married men with kids and cranky wives just trying to survive and have a little peace and quiet, holding a beer. You chat with these guys and you can tell he loves talking with the guys at the barbecue. But I suspect it's not so much because he's talking to men per se, but it's more that he can finally be able to completely be open and honest with his thoughts and mind and let go. And wait for it, not afraid of the person he's talking to, namely us guys. He's not afraid anymore. He's in front of people he's not afraid of talking to. You see, in that moment, he's free. He can laugh, he can relax, he can breathe, unlike the car ride home he has with his boss later. These guys at barbecues constantly look over their shoulder to make sure Chicky Poo doesn't hear him. The amount of desperate men out there who perform their relationships with their woman is really sad to see. There's a performative aspect to, I see guys out there with dating advice. They perform in the relationships. There's just so much scared performance. And when they're with family, friends, other men where they don't have to perform, like they're at a job, then they relax and be themselves. And I can't understand why some people just don't say, see, yeah, this is real living. This is my personal life. The job and the bad relationship, that's work. That's faking it. So what's the solution? So what can you do about these entitled women you come across in life? And look, there are entitled men too, but I'm talking to men from my experience as a man as well. So you can flip this around. It's not the same. A man's experience is very different to a woman, but you get what I mean. If you come across a rude person, you know what to do. Men just have a harder time saying no to rude women because they're hardwired to like them. So anyway, so what do you do about rude women, particularly on dates? Because a lot of the messages I get are from men on dates. Quite simply, you starve them. You starve them of second dates, which a lot of guys don't do. And when you get really good at trusting your own instinct and seeing it when it's in front of you automatically, you starve them of first dates as well. Excuse me. Yes, with clear and reasonable standards, you may be alone for a long time or even the rest of your life. But fuck it. The point is to have a life worth getting up for, not life with a woman where you'd rather be dead. I'll answer my thoughts on this in one sentence. So the question is, why are so many women out there? Why are so many women out there horrible? Why do they act horribly? And my answer to it always is, who cares? Let them act horribly, but let them starve. And not enough people starve them. They just keep feeding them because they'll allow you to go to bed with them. or you think you will. So my tip, and when my life got better, even before I found someone, it was that, and I remember this from Paul Proteus. If any of you guys remember Paul Proteus, the late great Paul Proteus back in the day, he did a video where he talked about his life just got so much better when he stopped arguing online in the comment section, trying to educate feminists, trying to, debate reality online politically. Stop arguing in the comment section with feminists for a start, these kind of women and men that you can't change their mind. And if you just can't help yourself, if you just have to engage with these idiots in the comment section or argue with them in real life, then I'm guessing that you just can't help yourself on these type of dates with similar types of women either. You might like the drama. You might need to just really face an addiction that you can't say no to. It's not women's society in the world so much. It's you not being able to say no to those things. And being you is the thing I want to re-emphasize. Being you is the only way through this stuff. Why I keep encouraging guys to speak clearly and to show who you are and be honest and open on dates is to avoid this zero-sum game of dating where women win just because of the way men are hardwired. The dude bro dating coaches will push these strategies onto you, game her, use her, take what you can and then discard her and move on. High five your bros. But if you live by that sleazy sword, you'll die by it one day too. One day you'll come across someone different, a different type of girl that you want her to stay with you and you only know how to pump and dump and high five dude bros. What do you do then? You don't know how to let anyone in confidently because you've never practiced showing the real you to any chick on a date. You've always turned up with a well-rehearsed mask, never you. So again, why do women feel like they can just be rude to men? Who cares how crazy rude women act? You can't beat crazy. So as the writer Alan Moore once said, those of you who have read Watchmen and are into comic books, Alan Moore once said, when you find out you've been standing in shit, you don't jump up and down in the shit to punish it, you walk away. And I would offer, we need to practice not just walking away from society and women, but the reflex to walk away should just be no. Saying it with your mouth. Walk away with your mouth. And this is what enough guys don't do, and I'm speaking from my own experience. When you can't say no, that's enough to walk away. The person in front of you walks away. You don't have to walk away from your life at all. You don't have to tolerate a bad life. Give obnoxious women nothing. Let them suffer in their short-term smug rudeness. It's not your job to suffer through Marilyn Monroe just to earn some decency towards you. Don't feed these spoilt brats with dates or even in the comment section. Without drama, they have nothing. Starve them of time and attention. It's as simple as that. Without food, these predators disappear from your life. This is what I've noticed. End of my rant. And thank you, Ted G, for the comment. What do you guys think? I will go into the comments and see if there's any questions. Lake versus Us Paradise. Have you ever read Ayn Rand? Yes. Let me get rid of Ted's comment, sorry. Have you ever read any Ayn Rand? Yes, I have. My favorite of hers is The Virtue of Selfishness. I'm not a big fan of Atlas Shrugged. Fountainhead's a little bit better, but I read them long ago. I probably should read them again, although, again, why should I make myself read them? I've got a super chat. Prince Revolver, it's not about being a simp or a nice guy. Men genuinely decide women. Yeah, we're born hardwired this way. We have to unlearn this behavior, unfortunately. Women aren't born with this. Stephanie often says to me she wishes guys weren't born with the default to just love women and do anything and say yes to them, because she knows that women aren't. And I wish guys weren't hardwired this way. But if we weren't, the human race would die out. Let's be honest. If we weren't saying yes to her like I said, during a date, a man shows up 100% convinced that she's the one, and she has to convince him otherwise. She has to pull her down. The woman on a date has to pull herself down from 10 down the pole. So in his eyes, she's a 10 when he shows up. He's optimistic and enthusiastic. She turns up apprehensive, skeptical, and he's not a 10. At best, he's probably a 5. Maybe he's a neutral. And with some girls, depending on if they've been hurt, how they view men and their politics, he might be like a 0 or a 1. And he has to work his way up past the 5 to be worthy of Marilyn Monroe on the date. Most men won't change until they face an extreme circumstance. It's like the doctor telling you give up alcohol or lose your liver. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't wake up until they're intellectually curious enough, or their life around them gets too lonely, too bad. They reach a moment where it's either medical, circumstantial, or structural in their life, where they realize they need to move out of their house and they've got no friends to help them move the couch. They're on their own, and it's really sad and depressing. I could feel for those guys that they don't have anyone. The lone wolf romantic idea is great until you're actually thrust in real life and you have to survive. It's nice to imagine being a lone wolf all the time while you're in front of a computer microphone. You have heating, food, and all your base level Maslow needs met. And you can intellectually talk about this stuff, but having to do it is very different. The way some people talk about dating online, I keep saying it's like a video game, because it really comes across as being that, because it's like they're talking about how they're going to diet one day. On Monday, I'm going to start my diet, or one day I'll reach this goal. But they aren't doing it, but they think they're going to do it, and it's going to happen. And that survival realization of the lone wolf, when you really realize you're alone, it's not romantic at all. It's really harsh. And I don't mind, and I have nothing against guys who want to live on their own and have nothing to do with women. But the fact that you can't talk with them and have a conversation respectfully, I'm not trying to change them. Like, I'm happy if you're happy, seriously. But the amount of vitriol that me or some guy who's highly religious, married with kids and stuff, like, there's this animosity towards people that aren't them, that they live so much in their little silo of our little religion with our bubble of guys or girls online. To me, when in the real world here, when you get evicted from your house, when you need someone, you need a friend, you need someone to talk to, nothing helps more than a friend to talk to, or someone in your life to kind of let out and work stuff out with. Because online, it's good, it can help, but it's a lot more work and it takes longer online. I remember when I was alone and I was going through problems, breakups, the chats I had online really helped, and writing and making videos really helped, but it took a long time for me to process that on my own, because I effectively am. I'm processing this stuff on my own here, even if I'm talking to you, because there's no face here in front of me and I'm not really talking with someone. If I get on chats on Discord servers and on Gilded servers, it's a bit better, but it's so much quicker and more visceral to talk through your problems and work out life problems in front of someone in real life, a real face, a real person. It just is. It just is. Just think about when you're in front of someone and you feel fear. There could be a fight. You feel danger. It's much more visceral and it's intense. But you go online and you play some, first-person shooter, and you play these really dangerous games online. It's just fun. There's no sense of danger or urgency. There's no visceral, immediate feeling. It's the same with working out your problems. It's the same with like talking to a friend in real life. It is just heightened to a 10. Any feeling, a normal conversation face to face with someone over a coffee, sitting on a couch, can be a 10, just a normal conversation. But online, even if it's the best conversation you've had, the effect of it might only be like a 7 or an 8. It might still be good. It's the best you can get. You're alone. But you know what I mean? And a lot of people that maybe they don't have friends, and I'm not blaming them, but real life is so much better, even with the most basic things like a hello and thank you. So, yeah, thanks for that, Prince Revolver. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for the long-term support as well. You've been around for a while. David P as well. I see you're here too. Let me see. Any more comments? Big Ol says, who cares? Yeah. If you know you can't reason with someone with this rude and belligerent attitude, and like I said, some people actually think it's confidence. And I know a lot of women are taught this by, Beyonce and the talk shows. They think this kind of arrogant rudeness is confidence because they just pantomime what they see CEOs do, those kind of top tier that they see as alpha guys. But those guys have terrible social lives. They're terrible fathers, husbands, partners. They're just thinking about the lifestyle and they find them attractive, but not in terms of a real life scenario. Yeah, boss babes. Humans on fire today. Prince Revolver says, my theory, women don't have much power in their own life. So when they come across a man that's a stable rock that continuously seek to please her, she takes advantage of it. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Prince Revolver, that you come on a date and you're not so much, I remember I wasn't confident, but I was excited and I share a lot. I'm kind of like a busted dam that just lets everything out, like the gates open. And I just let out the words that my mind finds interesting and I'm curious and all of this stuff. And they might read it as confidence or they might read it as refreshingly honest. And they obviously see something in me, which I just think is a real personality for once, instead of ums and ahs and how's your coffee. But yeah, I think they infer confidence in different ways, whereas they try and mimic it through pretending to be what they like in a man. And for men, with our eyes, it comes across as weird and rude, but unfortunately we don't say anything because we think, oh, she's talking, she's letting a lot out. Whereas normally girls, look, if you had to, you'd take an insecure girl that can't find her words over an arrogant girl putting on some dude bro mask or some boss babe mask. Let me see. Any other comments? David P says, don't engage with angry women. Walk away in silence. Preserve your peace. Yeah. I think that a lot of guys also, until you get your first date, you try and be nice. But if you're kind of taught it's hard to get a date and you're on your best behavior because you're grateful. And it's, you're told it's hard to get a date and treat women well and, don't make her go away. And you've got the biological pull and women are so confident and they won't let you push them around and you've got to wait for a kiss and you've got to wait for this. And it's all be on your best behavior. And you've grown up to respect mummy. So there's all of this messaging telling you in the presence of a girl that you respect. And guys who go on a date, they automatically respect the girl they're on, right? By default, because you want to be on the date, right? Whereas women aren't born with the default respect for men. Men have to prove themselves. So a guy turns up on a date, default respecting her before he even knows her, right? Because of his history with his mum, his hardwiring, and he's born to like women and trust women and want women. And so he turns up and the girl is very sassy and confident. And he thinks, oh, great. Like, I can feel secure because she knows what she wants and who she is, but you don't really see it from her point of view. She could still be, she probably is. A lot of women are really insecure and scared inside, and they put on an act to protect themselves. But again, like I said, you shouldn't care. And the more you get used to trusting yourself, letting this stuff out the way you do with your friends, and hopefully you don't have friends that shame you, but you can talk this way with your friends the way I talk to you. Start insisting that you're this way in front of girls on dates. And if you just start being this way, after a while, I think you might not get second dates. They might not like you. I've had plenty of dates where the girls didn't want a second one because I was too intense. I was too much of this, and they just wanted to keep it casual, or I'm not their kind of guy, which is fine. I'd rather be this and someone find it appealing, which I've been on far more dates, far more than the women that didn't like me, where I was just this way, the way I am with my friends and you guys. And they found me interesting enough. They found me refreshing enough. Now, it might not last, but it's better because if they like you, you know they like you for who you are. Now, you can't control if they're actually being themselves and being completely honest, but that's another thing. All you can control is who you are. Let's see. If you would like to ask a question or comment on anything I've said during this stream, if you're here live, please add 3 smiley faces before, not after, before your question or comment related to this topic of when you get someone rude in front of you, particularly on dates, which I'm sure a lot of people look at my content for, because I've always felt that if you can get yourself calibrated correctly for dates with women who are your biggest Achilles heel, even more so than a job interview, right? You want a job interview, I know. But at the end of the day, if the boss is really crossing the line, you may not say anything, but you just won't turn up again. But a lot of guys keep turning back up to obnoxious women. So I always feel like if you can get yourself right with the way you react to bad women and not picking bad women and saying no to bad women, you will by default find all the other things you need to say no to have some self-respect. You'll find it a lot easier. All right. How long have we been going? Just over half an hour. Let's make this a really short stream. Has anyone got any further? I know I kind of machine gunned a lot out to you guys related to this comment that that I got from, let's see, I got from Ted. And thank you, by the way. And subscribe to my Instagram, because I will look there for really considered comments, questions, and things like that, because the flood of questions and comments sometimes below videos, let's be honest, like I'll notice the people I know, but new comments is just a sea of sometimes, frankly, rude things. Whereas in Instagram, because it's not a very popular thing related to most people's YouTube channels, it's a very small part. If you've got a really considered question, if you really want to ask me something or comment on something, do it on my Instagram. I usually see those almost always because I just don't get very many comments there. I usually just post on Instagram that, hey, a stream's coming up. But if you have a question, post it there. So, all right. If I'll wait around for another minute. If you've got any final questions and comments related to rude people or rude people on dates, how you dealt with it, when there was a turning point, when it used to be hard for you, you didn't know what to say, and then you turned the corner and then it became easier, and now it's like a no-brainer. It doesn't bother you at all. You know how to deal with it. You don't put up with these people. You walk away. And not just the bravado, oh, I walk away, I don't deal with them. But you're courageous enough to go for the things in life you want to go for, and you go on dates and you do what you want to do in life, and you're not worried about these sort of people before. Whereas before you would even avoid situations or dating because you just didn't want to deal with them. A lot of guys I know, they just avoid dating and social situations because they just don't want to even come across it. And it's a way to guarantee never dealing with it. But then also, if you have to avoid those environments that you do enjoy, you would like to go on a coffee with someone, you do like catching up with family or friends, but you hate that one person or friend that's always cracking jokes and jabbing at you and making fun of you. How have you dealt with it? So that person doesn't ruin it for you that you can't even turn up to gatherings with all the other guys because of one person, or you can't enjoy dating because of potentially it could be this type of chick. My throat. By the by, not that it might interest any of you, I turned 53 yesterday, and party with family last night. Sore throat, too much sugar, but hopefully happier and wiser. Let's see. Kung Fu Joe left a comment. He says, in my honest opinion, it all comes down to the end of the social contract. The price of the system is too high, so no one wins. It is, but also I know the younger I was, I went about things more naively, right? Sometimes stupidly, right? But overwhelmingly naively. You don't know what else to do, and you just do it the way your friends tell you to do it. Or you'd go about it fumbling through the best way you know how to do it. And if you've been raised politely and well, you go about dating politely. But unfortunately, if a woman hasn't been raised well, if a woman, even if she's had a decent household, her mum, society, and everyone tells her to be pushy, and that's fine because only men are rude, but women are just asserting themselves, all this word salad, they're just encouraged to be rude under the guise of being honest or assertive and not being under anyone's thumb and not being taken advantage of. Because remember, women feel much more vulnerable out in the world than men do. So they tend to overcompensate and build up this persona and ego, and they don't even know they're doing it. They feel protected and good when they go out on dates. But at the same time, as I said in my rant before, the girls, they don't know how they're shooting themselves in the foot because they are putting this big, obnoxious barrier between them and the guy, because on the first day, he just sees someone that's pushy and making him go, that was weird. I won't say anything now. It's like, you don't know what to say to someone who's that confident and pushy. And it's like, this is what I feel, and if you don't like it, I'm confident in who I am. But a lot of times I talk to girls and women in my life, and they say, yeah, that's kind of normal because you don't know the guy. You want to let him know that you're not a pushover. But men are quite literal. And I would say to a certain extent, women are quite literal as well. A guy can't say and act a certain way, but underneath he's a really nice guy. A woman's going to take him literally as well. So I get the protective instinct, why women put on this tough girl mask and they think it's confidence where it's really not. But doesn't work. That's why you can't find a man. If you're that way and you can't be any other way, well, then just, I don't know, get used to being alone. Because you wouldn't want you if you were me. But I think for a lot of people, men included, but especially women, drop the act. Know how to recognize a good person. Know how to walk away. Know how to not pick the bad guy. And same with guys. We pick bad girls. And then we complain, the system, women are all... No, you can't turn a stripper into a housewife. Look, you can. You can probably turn like 5 strippers into housewives, one after the other. But you know what I mean? Like, it's the same with women. They're trying to turn bad boys into husbands, or really awful men into husbands. And I know that bad person comes off as confident because, if he's confident and he doesn't give an F, then he's confident and he can protect me and he can stand by me. But it's just stupid, because what a person sees on a first date is what you show them. And if you're showing them arrogance and you don't give a crap, and all of your plans about how confident you are and what you want for your future, and you're a career-minded girl and you want this, this, and this, and he hears nothing about him in the picture, all of your confidence is all about you and nothing about a relationship, and nothing what you want in a partner, and nothing about how you want to relate to someone, and nothing about how you want to play this tennis and this really nice feedback loop. Even if you've been selfish in the past, a reasonable man that can tell if you're being honest will see a girl that's in her language will show relational language, reciprocal language, acknowledging where she's had fault in the past, wanting to be better and voicing it, in effect saying sorry. And that's really big. A guy really notices language where a woman's being humble and in effect saying sorry, because most women don't. The joke is that women never say they're sorry. So how you present yourself, how you talk, and how you show confidence, I would argue, especially for guys, I mean, I don't know how girls do this, but for guys, I don't think you should try and go and be confident. I think you should just try and have the courage to be who you are, because who you are is fine with your family and friends, because there's the proof. If I can just relax and be myself and not worry about how I present in front of my family and friends, there's the evidence of what to be like. Just be that. But it's like, yeah, but it's a girl. Then it's your problem to pull her off the podium. There should be no one on the podium. She should be pulled down to your level, and you should be talking to her like you do your family and friends. So you've got the evidence, like I said, behind you. You want to know what works with women? Here's the evidence in my empirical life, how it works with my siblings and my friends. Done. Be that way. And it's so much easier being one mode of person through your life. Yeah, you might need to be a bit formal when you go to church and certain family gatherings or when you go to work. But generally speaking, you can be yourself to 80 to 100%, It's trying to be clever and the car salesman-y kind of way of dating or relating to people. It doesn't work, because later on, if people buy the car salesman act, you have to keep it on. And that is the problem with a lot of these guys who are married, have kids, and they have to go to their shed, or they have to disappear in their car to have a few hours of peace, or go for a run, or stay late back at work, or they can only have real conversations with the guys. And I understand that there's a lot of conversation with men that really doesn't lexically translate with women in the way it does with men, because the way we can concept connect and talk through things and look for solutions, I get that. But there should be no filter. There should be, put it this way, at these barbecues I talked to you about, these guys that talk honestly with me, but they talk in a whisper and they look over their shoulder to make sure Chicky Poo doesn't hear them. You should not have to do that. You should be able to talk, laugh loud and joke around and just, let go and be free and be yourself with the person you're with your romantic partner, or with your best buddies, or with your family, because anyone that actually cares about you will understand, even when you're being a bit, obnoxious or whatever. Hopefully you're not. Hopefully you know how to present yourself and you have some sort of social etiquette. But Neanderthal says, how many young people, 16 to 20 years old, that you talk to regularly? I can say the quality of young people are very low at the moment. Yeah, I don't find much stuff simpatico with younger people. I try to understand them, but just in their communication, I find that it's very hard for them to string clear sentences together to express to me. And they don't need to have some sort of sophisticated language, some poetic literature-based language with me. They just have to talk normally, but a lot of them can't express how they feel, because I think they've been told a lot of times just to censor themselves as guys throughout their lives. Their single mums have probably told them that they're worth nothing and they should just keep quiet, and so they just listen to their mums if they want to be fed, living in a single mum household. Just everything just tells them to shut up and just parrot whatever women want you to say. And it takes a lot to defy that, because you have to fight against your primitive base survival instincts. You have to do something counterintuitive, which is say no to your mother, women, society. You're not just pushing women away. You're pushing society. You're thinking, I'll lose my job. You will lose everything if you dare to have a different point of view to what politics and women tell you should have as a guy. So it takes a lot of courage to just be yourself. And I know there are a lot of excuses as to why you shouldn't, because of the dangers I just mentioned. But the only way to have a better life, a freer life, even if you just want to push the world away as much as possible, to have a really sanitary, clean life where you know who your friends are, why they're your friends, why you love someone, why you hate someone, why you're at the job. Just to get rid of a lot of that fear is to express your thoughts and who you are as clearly as possible. Because I think there's too many young guys crushed under the weight of censorship and say and do the right thing and being crushed to the size of an ant. And that's the only way they can survive in this world. And the reality is that guys are much bigger than women. And if they just kind of switch their perspective and their mindset on this, just be the way you are with your friends or the way you talk to guys with friends you have online. And it's just practicing that mechanism. But I agree, Neanderthal, that the quality of discussion and self-esteem, and it's just being crushed. I can sympathize with it, but the only way through is up. Guys are being crushed that they're talking on the level 1 of how much they've been crushed, and they just need to say, yeah, I've got every right to go up and talk and speak my point of view just like women in society do. Everyone else says what they want, but what? I can't even say what I want politely? You guys all out there are rude. You guys say what you want and you're rude. You are the worst of the worst, some of you. But me, I can't even politely give you an opinion. I can't even, in a Prince Charles dignified, civil way, give you my opinion. It's like, go fuck yourself in your own language. I'll say whatever I want politely, thank you very much. Most of them, yeah, I think the younger generation needs to probably read more and have better conversations, because it's just too comfortable to be in your little bubble corner where you can't be hurt. And again, I'm not putting you down because it's safe and you've got a good bunch of guys there. But again, this world was built by guys, and this world, your life is short. The world's yours without getting too hokey. And so many guys are chained in the corner by society and their mistresses out there in society, that they don't realize that kind of the chain is invisible if you just learn how to express your thoughts and talk a little bit. Prince Revolver, thank you for the super chat. He says, I dated a chick who made fun of me for being bald. Yeah, I've had that. I don't actually care. Before I get to reading the rest of your comment, I've always wanted to shave my head. When I was young, I was really thin. I tried it once or twice and I looked like I had cancer. But when I actually started to fill out and get a bit bigger, then when I was able to shave my head, and by that time my hair was thinning out as well, I really loved it. So when they make fun of something I love, I just laugh. It doesn't bother me. And this is something to think about as a guy. If someone affects you, why is it affecting you? If they're making fun of something that you say you love or believe to be true, and it really does annoy you and you have to defend yourself, I would say that you're not convinced yourself. Because I like being bald and having a shaved head, and some of you people that say, well, yeah, you'd love to have a full head of hair. Yeah, it would be nice to, if I wanted to grow my hair out and slick my hair back and have a full head of hair like George Clooney, sure. But I'd still shave my head all the time. I think a shaved head, especially when you get older, is just more practical. I don't have to buy shampoo. I just buy one tub of face, body, hair kind of gel, and that's it. Getting more and more practical as you get older it's the way you want to be with everything, with people, how you live your life, you reduce your friends and everything like that. Anyway, let's get back to Prince Revolver's comment. He says, I dated a chick who made fun of me for being bald. I asked her why she would try to make me feel bad. Apologies, Prince Revolver. Let me read that again without trying to speed through it. I dated a chick who made fun of me for being bald. I asked her why she would try to make me feel bad, knowing she was full of insecurities. Her response, because you're not insecure. But again, you don't treat people. This is a way where you know someone has reflected and can be fair, that they don't treat you in a way that they would not want you treating them with. So they treat you the way they would want to be treated. And if people don't, if they give themselves license to treat you a different way, I've mentioned this with friends in a different way. I've always tended to come across as the secure guy with my high school friends. And I remember when one of our buddies, his wife passed away, we all got together and we surprised him with like a gathering at his place, and we talked with him and we took him out for a meal, and he really appreciated it because he was kind of like an insecure, quiet guy, great guy. And then later on, when my father passed away, I curiously remember, like, my friends were absent. They'd send me like, yeah, sorry to hear. And later on, I remember when we were together at a barbecue or something, I remember saying, just out of curiosity, I noticed that with our other buddy, like, and with you guys, everyone's very supportive and everyone gets together and makes sure the other person's okay. But with me, and I'm not complaining, I know you guys are my friends, what you guys just leave me alone and you don't sort of offer that support. And they said, well, you're always the confident one. Like, you always seem like you can handle it, Bobby. And it's like, yeah, generally I can. And most stuff doesn't bother me in life, but I just noticed the difference. It's a bit unfair. And they said, oh yeah, sorry. But there's a lot of people that aren't clicked into treating people the way they would want to be treated. And I would say that if you're more of an introvert or a person that self-reflects, you like being alone, you're aware of being alone, and you just want to be left alone, then you learn to read the world outside you and other people, and you say, well, I will treat you well and I'll treat you fairly because I want you to leave me alone and treat me fairly. So I feel like introverts should be, and generally are, the more sensible and intelligent ones. They're fairer and they're not as loud, and they treat people the way they would want to be treated just because they realize that dynamic. Whereas people who are more social, they're just outwardly focused all the time. And they just spit stuff out and play games, and they don't kind of reflect. They don't have much of an inner world to reflect on. And so everything's kind of spewed out, and they're not affected internally by much because there's not much inside them. Anyway, that's just my hypothesis. But that's interesting, Prince Revolver. She makes fun of you, and she thinks she has every right to make fun of you because you can take it. It's like someone, I can punch a guy who's big and tough because he can take it. I think that's also the case. You know how some women punch guys? Even I've heard a guy tell a joke and a woman punches him as she's laughing because it's funny. And it's like, well, why are you punching him? Oh, it's because it's funny. It's like, you punch a guy because you're laughing? Oh, I'm not being mean. I'm just punching him because it's funny. Yeah, good on you. Let's see. Any last comments before we wrap the stream up? Let me read some of the comments under the post that I left for you guys during the week leading up to the stream about how did you respond to rude people, particularly with partners or on dates, and what was your takeaway? Let's see. Quaz, he said, if I have the energy, I try to hear the unfulfilled infantile need that is behind the rudeness, and if I can, I will attempt to meet it. Otherwise, it's just kiss my ass. Yeah. I don't know if that comes with age, but I've always gathered that Quaz was a guy with very good boundaries, even when he was younger. He had. There's some people you talk to that just seem like their boundaries when you were 20 were better than yours. And you just got to be honest about that. Boffin says, my response was most often situational. If the rudeness was justifiable in some way, I might apologize. If it was unwarranted, I might deflect or gently argue. If it was inconsequential, I might ignore it. But if it was done with malicious intent in a public setting, there would be hell to pay in the private time that followed. Yeah, I would love to be a fly on the wall. I've had conversations with Boffin. Boffin's a really friendly, good guy, but underneath the surface, he doesn't take shit. And I would love to be in a fly on the wall in the past when he reached his limit of being nice with some chick. Drum and Bass says, I used to turn a blind eye to it. No longer. I tell people to F right off if they're directly rude to me. I no longer enable this behavior. Yeah, good. Harrison the condiments, the econom. Harris the whatever. He says, confronted the behavior. Unfortunately, it was like talking to a wall, and they'd claim they'd make a change, but repeated the behavior. Yeah. The trick is, how many chances do you give someone, and how astute are you to clearly see it for what it is, where you're convinced exactly what it is. Some of us, including me, sometimes you get blindsided and you're surprised, and you need to kind of investigate it and maybe spend a bit of time or converse with them a little bit. But some people are really quick, and I admire people who can really quickly judge that kind of situation accurately. Some people just jump the gun. I've heard some people, they've got a short fuse and they just cut people off and they're rude, and then later on they say, yeah, I'm like that. I wish I wasn't. I would have saved a lot of friendships and relationships if I didn't have such a short fuse. But some people, they do admirably have a really accurate assessment right away. And that's really good. SRC 59 says, as a single man, I usually ignore them. A fire can't burn without fuel. That's a really good saying. A fire can't burn without fuel. Prince Revolver commented, he says, answering my question, how do you respond to rude people? He says, by giving them the greatest gift of all, my absence. Yeah. It was basically the big part of the appeal of setting up boundaries back in the past with MGTOW, because it was knowing when to walk away, going your own way, the confidence of your boundaries and not putting up with being used, abused, and unfair expectations put on you. So your absence, not giving them anything is a really great thing. It requires just an adjustment of how you respond to a situation. You don't have to learn lines. You don't have to learn anything. You just have to learn no. You just have to show no or say no. Master Pakuska says, I tend to be cool, calm, and collected, but every now and then I will be abrasive. I prefer to take a calm approach so my emotions don't escalate. David says, my ex did something that wasn't acceptable, so I called her out in private. Good for you. I actually think that's the right and respectable thing to do. If your partner calls you out in public, if she makes a fool out of you, I think you have every right to embarrass her as well. If she's embarrassing you, she's being rude and disrespectful. But if your partner says something, for instance, she says something that she thinks is right, but you know it's wrong, it's factually incorrect, don't embarrass her in front of other people. Tell her in private, because I don't think it's not nice to embarrass your partner because of inaccuracies. But I think you should put your partner in your place publicly if they're putting you down and if they're really being disrespectful, but not in general. Someone's ringing me. Let me continue. He says, she owned her behavior but was upset. As the relationship progressed, she kept doing it. The specific behavior wasn't the reason the relationship ended, but it played a very big part. I will always call out bad behavior, and I'll do it respectfully. The only time I won't is if it leads to ugly confrontation. Then I'm just walking away. Yes, and I would also give her back exactly what she's giving you. There is nothing wrong with reciprocity. When sometimes there are people who are very intelligently condescending in public in front of other people, where they can always say, what? I'm just saying, why are you getting upset? They can gaslight very calmly, and they're very skilled at gaslighting you and embarrassing you in a way. Girls, particularly in the schoolyard, they're quite skilled at being politely bitchy and giving backhanded compliments. And if you call it out, they'll go, why are you getting upset? What I touched a nerve, must be true. So you've got to have, depending on the person and the way they're doing it, you've got to be careful how you respond. But the easiest way is just to walk away and give them nothing if you don't know how. That's always the default. You know, case in point, the last few weeks, some of the comments under my videos, everything in me wanted to explain and argue and respond. And it's like the best thing you can do with obnoxious people, the way they talk to you, is ignore them. Because you're, as was mentioned, you're not giving any fuel to the fire. If you disagree with me respectfully, you have an honest question, yeah, I can have a discussion with you, but no one deserves to justify and explain to rude behavior, especially if the person's intentionally being rude. Let's see. Hiko Dachi says, I kind of laugh it off now and actually talk to them to figure out what their issue and damage is, so long as it's safe to do so. What I have learned is that once they get it off their chest, they calm down and are reasonable. Okay. Might be an age thing on my part. Yeah. I think if the way you speak and if you match their childish behavior, it just kind of escalates. It can turn into a shouting match. It can turn into a physical fight. If you just stay at a child, like that's where it just circles. But if you give them nothing and you're effectively in the way you talk and respond, it's like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. If you want to join me here as an adult, I'm up here, but I can't hear you down there. You want to join me? And if they don't, then you just walk away and say, well, I can't talk to you like this. Learn how to express what you feel. A lot of guys don't want to express their feelings because they think feelings are the domain of women. But learning to articulate how you feel can help you the most. Learn to articulate why you love someone, why you don't, why they're a good friend, why you don't. You'll learn to bring things out in the open with your words, with questions, and answer them, and not just rely on how you feel because you vibe or don't vibe with someone. A lot of times we misinterpret how we feel. And sometimes when you talk to people, you misinterpreted how they were coming off. There's sometimes a person was like, oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. Sorry. I can see how it came across as blunt or rude, but I actually meant A, B, and C. And you go, okay, I'll get you now. But it came across as this. And you go, no. So conversation and being clear can clarify if you're right, if they were being rude, or if you're wrong and you misinterpreted. Sometimes we have our own trigger words and past where we automatically go to the negative and defend ourselves, where they didn't have that history and they didn't mean it that way. And they weren't gaslighting. They weren't giving you a backhanded compliment or something. But yeah, it might be an age thing. Basio Mucho says, usually shrug it off, but I wish I had some good comeback lines. Yeah, it's good to have comeback lines to tell your mates what you did and they can high five you. But generally, like what... I know what you mean. There's a lot of situations I don't react the way I wish I reacted later when I had time to think about it. Sometimes I'm in a situation I said, I should have said this. I should have walked away sooner. Hindsight is always 20/20. So I get it, but what are you winning really? The biggest takeaway was that it was partly my fault. Prince Revolver added another message. The biggest takeaway was that it was partly my fault for allowing it to happen. We often talk about how women are passive or how they're terrible communicators. Men can equally be as bad by not speaking up. Yes. And never saying no. Yes. I swear, men say yes really well to women. Men communicate in the positive so well, and they exaggerate it like a cartoon. It's ridiculous how clearly men respond with a yes and the positive. But just saying like no or not quite, yeah, we don't know how to say that. Women find it hard to say yes, clearly and directly. They gaslight and they say no very well. But yeah, men really need to know how to say no when they mean it. Men are equally as bad as not speaking up and never saying no. Eventually, it will get to the point. Eventually, it will get to the point in which everything she does, even when she's not pushing your buttons, becomes intolerable. By that point, the best thing you can do is excuse yourself from the relationship. Yeah, and it's embarrassing because you haven't spoken up and all she's done is gaslight, or both of you haven't spoken up. Could you really, unless you've both gone separate ways, I'd say most relationships wouldn't break up if you were to talk as honestly as you can right from the start. But if you get used to the mode of turning up with a mask, not talking about important things, never having conversations, never sharing your inner world with the other person, not caring about compatibility and your values and things like that. Of course, just watching the same fake movie over and over again gets really boring. You want to change the channel. But if the channel's real, if it's real and in real time and it's constantly progressing, you don't want to get rid of that channel. It's great. It's you. It's life. It's whatever, you know. But if it's constantly regurgitating memes and lines and parties and restaurants and not even looking at each other, going on an anniversary dinner with your chickie poo that you have nothing in common with, and looking down at your chicken and putting it in your mouth and not even looking at the partner, not talking to her, and just thinking about, oh, when I get home, I want to do this and I want to talk to my buddies and I can't wait for the surfing trip or something. The regret of being with the wrong person. Stay alone or be with someone who's compatible with you. You want to be content and happy and continually wake up for, looking forward to things. If you do anything other than that, you're just kind of living on borrowed time. Melee says, be direct, tell them unacceptable behavior. You will get into arguments, but you can be civil about it. Yes. Aruya Williams says, it depends on the degree of the rudeness, but if it is bad, I usually cut them off and don't deal with them again. Problem solved. Yes. Peg says, why would you even be rude to your partner? Yeah, I don't understand either, Peg, but I think you and I are cut from similar cloths where what's the point? If I get off on treating someone rude, I've seen people like that. They really get off on pulling someone down. I would say it's the same kind of people that love watching reality TV. Whenever I watch those shows that are really popular on streaming services and on TV, and people just can't stop watching it, you tell them, why do you keep watching it? They go, I know it's dumb, but I have to watch it. It's like slowing down for a car crash. And I can't. I feel a hair stand up on the back of my neck because I feel like I can't stand this at work. All of this bullshit and game playing, and it just brings back these flashbacks from exes and fake, passive aggressive. I can't watch it. But you're all there with wide open eyes, smiling, like you can't get enough of it. It's kind of like you're inhaling donuts. It's like, ooh, more. And it's like, oh, this is gross. Like, ugh, I'm going to throw up. It's like, but they love it. I just don't get it. I don't get it, Peg. Why would you want to be rude to your partner? Why would you want to hit your dog? Why would you want to just start an argument with your friend? Why the thing that you love or like or you hold dear and you covet and you cherish that's yours, why would you want to hit it? Why are you so sadistic toward the thing that you say you care about is high priority in your life? Might be people who are, I would say, masochistic, where they start a positive routine in their life and then they drink and they go backwards and then they have to climb up the mountain and then go backwards. They can't help punching themselves in the stomach. And I think these people, they can't help themselves from being rude to their partner. And then they just keep having drama in their relationships. If things are taken out of context, talk about it. If rudeness is in their nature and you have to accept it, shame on you. Yeah, really. Who would want to be partnered with a bitter Betty or a belligerent Bradley? Foundationally, partnerships are meant to be built with each other in a positive way, not to destroy one another. Yeah. But people today will tell you, Peg, that, oh, that's old school thinking. You don't understand today's relationships. Yet I would actually say neither do you guys. Explain to me why you're fighting and you hate each other. Explain to me why you turn up to a date wanting to antagonize and play games with each other. Like, tell me why that works. Oh, you don't understand, old man. Okay, explain it to me. I'm all ears. I think I'm more patient and I can understand language far better than you. Explain it to me. LOL. We can't be bothered. Yeah, okay. Enjoy your circus then. And she ends, have a faulty foundation and the whole house crumbles. Yeah. They're building relationships on drama sand or something. So, Derek Monk, not marry and engage with them in the first place like you have. Okay, whatever, dude. All right, if there's no further questions, any last questions? Let's wrap it up. How long have we been going? All right, just over an hour. I do that often, don't I? I say we're about to wrap up and then I go for another half an hour. But look, it's been an hour. I think this is a nice place to end an hour-long stream. If you've got no further questions, let's call it a day. Enjoy your weekend. Happy 53rd birthday to me from yesterday. Big Ol says, I have a full head of golden blonde hair. Good for you. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Have a good weekend, guys. Remember Alan Moore's quote, when you find out you've been standing in shit, you don't jump up and down in the shit to punish it. You walk away. I think it's a good place as any to end this. If you've got any comments, comment below the chat. If you've got a microphone, jump onto Gilded after this. A bunch of us jump on and continue this conversation. Learn how to use Gilded. And yeah, join, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next video or stream. Later. Bye.